Our next achiever this evening is Rahsaan Thomas, creator and executive producer of SWAT CBS television and alumnus of the McNair Scholars Program at the University of Kansas. Mr. Thomas.
What up, everybody? So this is a hard act to follow because these are two very professional speakers. What I'm going to do is just speak from my heart and speak shortly. So that's the best I can do. So first of all, I want to start off by saying thanks. I'm very thankful to the selection committee, thankful to the board, thank you to everyone in this room. Thank you for TRIO and all of the opportunities they've provided for everyone up here right now and all the students that are coming behind us. It's just really inspiring and absolutely just a pleasure to be a part of all of this. So thank you. Thank you to everyone here. What I would love to do is just go through a little bit of my own journey to get up here, which is unlikely in its own right and also very exhilarating in my opinion, where for me, it wasn't always guaranteed that I would ever get to this point. Like a lot of us, I think, you come from challenging backgrounds, you come from backgrounds where it's not always likely that you're going to get a college education. And for me, I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, in the Midwest. That's right. And I was fortunate enough early on to have a few examples of what I could do. I always wanted to write, I always wanted to tell stories. I had Gordon Parks to look up to when I was a black kid in Kansas, but there weren't too many outside of Gordon Parks. We have Kevin Wilmot, who just wrote a film called Black Klansman that came out, who I also looked up to. And early on, I knew that I had this dream that I wanted to write, I wanted to make films, I wanted to tell stories, but I had no idea really how to achieve that dream. Growing up in Kansas City, Kansas, where pretty much 70% of the population was low income, blue collar, African American, Latino, there weren't always those avenues that were apparent as to how you could achieve a crazy dream like working in the creative field and actually making a living. What I was fortunate enough to have early on was, first of all, I had parents that were really encouraging of education. My dad, who was the biggest role model I've ever had, always had three priorities: God, education, family, were the three that I grew up with. And then second of all, I was really fortunate to actually be able to act upon those priorities by getting a good education in high school and then getting into the University of Kansas, where I was introduced to the Ronald E. McNair program for learning how to apply to graduate studies. And so what the Ronald E. McNair program gave me was, number one, it really put a face on the black astronaut who I knew only from the Challenger explosion back in '85. But second, what it really did is it allowed me to then put my dreams up on its feet. Denzel Washington has a saying where a dreams without a plan is just a wish. You've ever heard that? And for me, it was just a wish until I started the McNair Scholars Program, where I was able to understand, all right, how exactly do I go from point A to point B if I don't have a real game plan or someone to completely tell me every step of the way? How do I do it? And education was my key. I ended up, through the McNair Scholars Program, being mentored by Dr. Robert Rodriguez, who's sitting right over here. And yes, I'll give it up for him. And through mentorships like that, Dr. Rodriguez and many others, I was able to understand, if I don't know anybody in Hollywood, and that's a business word, knowing someone, knowing people is the key to it all, how can I supplement that? And so through a painstaking process of learning exactly how to fill out applications, how to, look at the best programs across the nation, I applied to the top 6 film programs, and I didn't get into any of them, not a one. It came down to USC, the University of Southern California School of Cinematic Arts, which was my top choice, and they put me on a waiting list, and I still remember to this day exactly where I was when I actually found out the good news. I had gotten no's from everyone, and I was sitting in the McNair Scholars office on the University of Kansas's campus, and I just called them up, because I was the type of dude that was like, okay, if they're not going to come to me, let me come to them. Let me just make it a quick killing. If they're going to let me know, just let me know. I'll go, work in some 9 to 5. And I called them up, and asked the lady, Lisa was her name, in the office there in LA. And she asked, she's like, "You're the one calling from the McNair Scholars Program? Because you call every week, right?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's me. It's me." And I just want to know, is it good news or bad news? I just need to know because, I need to know what I'm going to do now with the rest of my life, at least for the immediate future. And she said, "Well, hold on just a second. Let me go and check." And so, she went, and this is like the longest 30 seconds of my entire life. Because she left, and I'm sitting there in the McNair office, and I'm just kind of like, I'm hoping this is going to be a story I can tell in the future. She comes back, and she told me, "You made it off of the wait list onto the program," and we were so impressed with the fact that you followed up, you were persistent. You actually used the tenets that I learned in the McNair Scholars Program as far as how to apply, how to follow up, how to be diligent. And that was a big part of swaying them to take me off of the wait list and admit me into the program, which was my top choice, by the way. So I got into USC, and when I received that news, to say that I was on cloud nine, I don't even remember how I got to the parking lot. I just remember just kind of like flying. And I was so happy and excited because it felt like the hard work that I'd put in was now paying off. There were actually dividends. I was seeing results, and it felt like all of the talk that we have regarding these programs, Upward Bound and McNair Scholars Program, when we talk about providing opportunities and through knowledge, I, in that moment, really, truly understood what that meant. I felt like I had earned that spot. And from there, it launched me into a career where I was able to write on TV shows. I was able to go to film school, graduate, and then write on TV shows like Friday Night Lights on NBC, CSI New York on CBS, Numbers, Sleepy Hollow on Fox. There was a show called The Get Down that was set in New York. Right. And then finally, that brought me to what I've been doing the last couple of years, which was funny enough. I went through the McNair Scholars Program. One of the tenets is learning how to research, right? So you learn how to apply to different graduate schools, and you also learn how to do a ton of research. Just research, and then when you think that you're done, you research even more. Well, when it came time for me to create my own TV show, guess what I found myself doing? Right. So there was an idea that I had about a year and a half ago where I wanted to take the Black Lives Matter, Black versus Blue, and try to combine that into a character who was caught between both. A guy who grew up in South LA, who worked as a cop, and not just any cop, but a SWAT officer of all things, and to explore that story, and someone who's literally caught between. And I found that there was a good way to do that through the prism of a show from the late 70s called SWAT. What I ended up doing is I did a ton of research. It wasn't just, I want to redo that show and that movie that Samuel L. Jackson did back in 2003. I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, let's try to say something. Let's try to use that platform, because this show is going to be seen from LA to Ghana, and I want to make sure everyone who sees it, you're not just entertained through the explosions and through the stunts that we do, although those are pretty dope. What I wanted to also show is that we could use that as a platform to get out positive information, positive stories. And so I found myself researching every aspect of that world, that city, and when I took it in and I pitched it, we pitched it to 4 different networks. We sold it in every single room that we pitched it to. And a lot of that was based on the research and the solid work that had been done behind the scenes. And a lot of that was instilled in me from the McNair Scholars Program at KU. So it all comes around full circle. We're now fortunate enough to be shooting season 2, which will premiere September 27th. And it stars kind of a decent-looking dude named Shamar Moore. But I'm just really thankful, happy that a lot of the work that was put in early on still benefits me to this day. And in closing, I'm just hoping that students who are coming now behind us can take a lot of the lessons that they have in the programs that they're in and really understand how this will benefit you for the rest of your life. It has mine, and I'm forever grateful, and I thank you again.